Beauty and the Beast, a dark bargain of sacrifice and love. The forest was thick with mist as Belle made her way toward the towering gates of the Beast's castle. Her long, flowing, curly brown hair cascaded down her back, and her simple, elegant blue dress swayed with each step. The cold wind bit at her skin, but she pressed on, her heart filled with both fear and determination. The towering stone walls of the castle were covered in twisted vines, and the overcast sky added to the gloomy atmosphere. She had heard the stories of the beast who lived within, but she couldn't allow fear to stop her. Her father's life depended on her, and Belle knew she had to face whatever lay beyond those gates. She took a deep breath and pushed open the heavy iron gates, stepping into the castle courtyard. Inside the grand decaying hall of the castle, Belle's footsteps echoed against the cold stone floor. The room was vast, with faded tapestries hanging from the walls, and a long wooden table, worn from years of neglect, stood in the center. As she glanced around, her heart raced, unsure of what to expect. Suddenly, from the shadows, the beast appeared. His massive frame was covered in dark fur, and his glowing golden eyes locked onto Belle. He was even more terrifying than she had imagined, his towering presence filling the room. "Who are you?" the beast growled, his voice rough and menacing. "I'm here for my father," Belle replied, her voice trembling but firm. "Please, let him go." The beast's eyes narrowed as he took a step closer. "He is a thief," the beast growled. "He will stay here forever." Belle's heart sank, but she didn't hesitate. "Take me instead," she offered, her voice filled with resolve. "Let my father go, and I will stay in his place." Belle hurried through the dark, winding corridors of the castle, her heart racing as she followed the faint sound of her father's voice. The air was cold and damp, and the flickering torches cast eerie shadows on the stone walls. Finally, she reached the dungeon, where she saw her father locked behind heavy iron bars. "Papa!" Belle cried, rushing to the cell. Her father, once strong and proud, now looked frail and weak. His grey hair was disheveled, and his hands trembled as he reached out for her. "Belle, you shouldn't have come," her father whispered, his voice filled with regret. Belle knelt beside him, gripping the iron bars with both hands. Her long, curly brown hair fell over her shoulders, and her blue eyes filled with tears as she looked at him. "I'm going to get you out of here," she promised. Before she could say anything more, the beast's deep growl echoed through the dungeon. He stepped out from the shadows, his golden eyes fixed on them. "He is a thief," the beast growled. "He will stay here, just as I said." As Belle's father tried to protest, Belle made her decision. She quickly tricked her father, taking his place behind the iron bars. Her heart ached as she watched him stumble out of the cell, weak and trembling. He looked back at her, confused and heartbroken. "No, Belle, you can't do this!" her father cried, his voice filled with desperation. But it was too late. Belle stood quietly behind the iron bars, her hands gently gripping the cold metal. Her long, curly brown hair flowed softly over her shoulders, and her blue dress swayed slightly as she moved. She had made her choice, and now there was no turning back. The beast stood in the shadows, watching the scene unfold with silent intensity. His golden eyes flickered with something unreadable as he watched Belle sacrifice her freedom for her father. After the beast led Belle from the dungeon, he showed her to her new room. The castle was cold and dark, its grandeur long forgotten. Belle stood by the large window, looking out at the misty forest beyond. Her long curly brown hair fell softly down her back, and her blue dress swayed gently as she moved. Despite the coldness of the castle, Belle's resolve remained strong. "This will be your room," the beast said gruffly, his voice filled with an edge of sadness. "You are free to go anywhere in the castle, except the west wing." Belle nodded silently, her thoughts still on her father, who was now free. She had sacrificed everything to save him, and now she was left alone in this dark, foreboding place. Days passed, and though Belle and the beast rarely spoke at first, something began to shift between them. The castle was no longer as cold and forbidding, and Belle noticed that the beast was not as terrifying as she had once thought. There were moments when she would catch him watching her. His golden eyes filled not with anger, but with curiosity. One morning, Belle wandered into the overgrown castle garden. The wildflowers had long since overtaken the stone paths, and crumbling statues of forgotten figures loomed among the tall weeds. Belle knelt beside one of the wildflowers, her long curly brown hair spilling over her shoulders as she gently brushed her fingers over the soft petals. "The gardens used to be beautiful," came a low, gruff voice behind her. Belle turned to see the beast, standing just a few steps away. His dark fur rippled in the breeze, and his towering, muscular form seemed slightly less imposing in the morning light. "They still are," Belle replied softly, standing up. She looked at the beast with a small smile. "In their own way." The beast met her gaze, his golden eyes softening for the first time. For a moment, Belle could see the man beneath the monster. That evening, the beast invited Belle to dine with him. It was the first time they had shared a meal together. Belle entered the grand dining hall, where a long-worn wooden table stretched across the room. Silver candelabras lined the center of the table, and the soft glow of candlelight cast a warm, flickering light over the dark stone walls. Belle sat at one end of the table, her blue dress flowing around her as she adjusted her seat. The beast sat at the opposite end, his large, fur-covered hands resting awkwardly on the table, his golden eyes watching her carefully. For a long time, they ate in silence, stealing glances at one another. The crackling fire in the hearth provided the only sound, casting a soft glow over the room. "Why aren't you afraid of me?" the beast finally asked, his voice low and uncertain. Belle looked up, meeting his gaze. "Because I see more than just a beast," she replied, her blue eyes filled with kindness. "I see the man you used to be." The beast's golden eyes flickered with surprise, and he looked down at his hands, his claws gently scraping the edge of the table. "The man I was is gone," he whispered. "Not entirely," Belle said softly. "There's still goodness in you." One evening, as a pale moonlight streamed through the tall windows of the castle's grand ballroom, the beast nervously asked Belle to dance. She hesitated for only a moment before smiling softly and taking his large, fur-covered hand. The ballroom, though crumbling and aged, held a certain enchantment that night. The soft glow of the moon illuminated the room, casting silver light across the stone floor. Belle's blue dress shimmered in the moonlight as she twirled in the beast's arms, her long curly brown hair flowing behind her. The beast, though large and intimidating, moved with surprising grace. his golden eyes fixed on Belle with a newfound tenderness. As they danced, Belle felt something change between them. The tension that had once filled the air between them was gone, replaced by a quiet understanding. For the first time, Belle allowed herself to believe that the curse could be broken, that there was more to the beast than the monster he appeared to be. Though their bond had grown, the time was running out. In the highest tower of the castle, the enchanted rose continued to wither, and the last petal trembled on the edge of the falling. The beast, accepting his fate, retreated to the tower, his heart heavy with sorrow. Belle followed him, her heart aching at the sight of the rose. The beast, weak and tired, collapsed onto the floor as the final petal fell. Belle rushed to his side, her long curly brown hair falling around her shoulders as she held his hand. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Please don't leave me." The beast's golden eyes flickered open for a brief moment. "It's too late," he whispered, his voice filled with regret. "The curse, it can't be broken." "I love you," Belle cried, her voice full of emotion. "And that's enough." At her words, a golden light enveloped the beast. His monstrous form began to transform, the dark fur giving way to smooth skin. Belle watched in awe as the man beneath the curse was revealed. When the light finally faded, Belle found herself kneeling beside a man, not a beast. He was tall and strong, with kind brown eyes that reflected both awe and gratitude. The curse had been lifted. "You saved me," the man whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. Belle smiled through her tears, her long curly brown hair shining in the sunlight that now streamed through the windows. "It wasn't the curse," she replied softly. "It was your heart." As they stood together, the castle around them began to change. The crumbling walls repaired themselves. The gardens bloomed with vibrant colors, and the once dark halls were filled with light. The curse had been broken, and with it, a new beginning had dawned for both Belle and the man she had come to love. In the beautiful garden of the restored castle, Belle and the man who was once the beast stood together, hand in hand. The sun shone brightly above, and flowers of every color bloomed around them. Belle's long curly brown hair was tied in soft waves, and she wore a stunning white wedding gown, her blue eyes sparkling with joy. The man, now fully human, looked at her with deep affection, his brown eyes filled with love. They had overcome the darkness, and now, surrounded by light and beauty, they were ready to begin a new life together. As they exchanged vows, a gentle breeze rustled the flowers, and the entire kingdom seemed to rejoice in their union. The curse was not only lifted from the beast, but from the castle itself, and from Belle's heart. Closing remarks for engagement. Thank you for watching this enchanting retelling of Beauty and the Beast. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more captivating love stories. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell us what story you'd like to see next. We create new love stories each week, and your ideas might just inspire our next tale. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.